Okay, on this end of the bed, we have 3 eggplants up here at the tip of the watermelon bed. Then we have some more zinnias planted here, some more older established zinnias. And in this bed where the onions were, we have celebrity tomatoes. And this is our strawberry bed. It's finished for the summer. And now this area in the middle, we have all peppers. I'm going to go through and tell you the different kinds of peppers we have. On this first row, we have 1 jalapeno, a mammoth jalapeno at the beginning, and then there are 8 California Wonder bell peppers. And we are starting to get some little bell peppers on here. There's one, and there's one. There's one on that plant. So 8 of these plants are bell peppers. And then at the end of this row, starting right here, we have Nassau peppers. And that's this first row. The next row after that, push back over here, this row starts with 3, this plant, that plant, and the next one, there's 3 mammoth jalapenos. And then after that, to finish out this row, we have 12 Cubanelle peppers, and they already have peppers on them too. Doing well. One big one, I may harvest him today. Then the next row up, this entire row, starting here all the way to the end, these are Nassau peppers. This whole row, there are 16 Escamillo peppers. This row, we have 16 Carmen pepper plants. And this final row, we have 13 red Marconis. And then there are 4 Nassau peppers at the end, and then 2 Escamillo at the very end. But this entire swath right through the middle here is all peppers. We really like peppers, so we wanted to get a bunch of them this year. This row where we pulled out cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, just some different plants, we ended up planting pink eye purple hull. So this is a good double row of pink eye purple hull peas. And a couple little stretches where they haven't come up, we went ahead and replanted the other day. But this is a good double row of pink eye purple hulls. And over here we still have our bush green beans, and they're still making fairly well. And back on this fence are Roma tomatoes. Behind here, where we harvested that poor pitiful little garlic harvest, we have set out some squash plants. And we don't know if they're going to make or not, but at least maybe there'll be a pretty little ground cover. But they're blooming, so we may get some squash off of them. But it's kind of shady back here, so it's just an experiment, kind of like it was with the garlic. Hope it goes better than it did with the garlic. This is our pear tree, and we've got nice little clusters of pears. They're getting about ready to pick. So we'll do a pear harvest here in a couple of days. Got some nice clusters. Over here, have some rosemary and some oregano. And this is our plum tree that didn't do diddly, even though I got out and tried to hand pollinate it this year. Don't know what we're going to have to do with it, but we didn't get any plums. So it's a beautiful tree, just not bearing any fruit. Here's another pretty cluster of pears. This is the bed where our spring onions are, and we just took them down to the ground, put a little black cow over the top, and sowed some lettuce seed. We're going to see if we can get some summer lettuce kind of over here in the shadier area. And then we have apple tree, another apple tree. We didn't get any apples either this year. And over here we planted a swath of zinnias. And then over here in this area we have some more squash. It's a little sunnier over here. Let's see if we can get us some later crop of squash. We have a cherry tree right there. We have a fig we've set out over here. And a peach tree over here. One of our cherry trees and our other peach tree died this year, so we're going to have to get another one because you have to have 2 different varieties to cross-pollinate. But we did a nice peach harvest off of this tree this year. And then we have our fig over here, and we have some figs setting on. There's one, There's one. So maybe get some figs this year. Okay, in this little area, we have our red Pontiac potatoes in these buckets, and they're still putting on foliage, so we're just going to leave them alone until they look like they're starting to die back. We planted bush butter beans, or bush lima beans here. This is a row, another row of Roma tomatoes. They're starting to put on some small tomatoes. And this is the same. This is our yellow straight neck squash. It's still, the plants are starting to look really ugly, but it's still making squash, so we're going to let them go a little bit longer. And this is our row of pickling cucumbers. They're making like crazy. We're doing pickles almost every day and eating a whole bunch of them raw and fresh. And then these two rows, we still have our bush green beans. And we're still getting nice harvest off of them, so we're going to let them go a little bit longer. This row, we have Parks Whopper tomatoes. And they are not Whoppers. So I heard a lot of people recommended to get these, said they're supposed to be wonderful tomatoes, but I don't know, maybe the area we have them, but I am not impressed so far. They're tall, lanky plants, and the tomatoes aren't big, but we'll see. Maybe they'll come on and do something. This poor little guy went ahead and started to ripen. He's about the size of a walnut, but maybe it has to get warmer. I mean, it's been really, really cool this year still so far, so maybe it's not hot enough for him. I don't know, but I am not impressed. This row, we have more bush butter beans. Down here at the end, past these Parks Whoppers, use the term Whopper loosely, we have some climbing green beans. And these are rattlesnake climbing green beans. And they're starting to set some little beans. Got some pretty blooms and some little beans. So we'll be able to harvest these probably in about a week. But they're looking pretty decent. And over here, on the other side of the fence, we planted more rattlesnake climbing green beans. So we'll have bush limas on one side and then climbing green beans on the other side. And here's our girls. One of them. Planted some impatiens in front of them. This is our thornless blackberry bush, and it's finally started to slow down, but we've been so thrilled with it this year. Still a lot of blackberries hanging on there, and it's starting to slow down, but definitely pleased with this. We're going to try to get some more of these started. And back here, this is our catfish pond, and we have impatiens growing in the pond filters. Again, we do this every summer, and you can hear the catfish splashing around when we feed them in the morning, so it's getting about time for a harvest of those. And there we have our quail coop, and more quail over there. So this back corner of the yard, there's our girls. There's all our chickens. So we have chickens, quail, and catfish back in this corner behind the garden. Okay, and over here we have our silver queen corn, and did a video on this the other day because the storm came through and knocked it all down and it was all laying on the ground, but it has stood itself up and it's doing really well now. And the tassels are full of pollen, and we have ears that are doing silks right now, and so hopefully we'll get these ears of corn pollinated and get some corn out of it. But it seems to be doing really well. It's way over my head. I'm 5'8", so it's probably 7 feet tall to the top of the tassels, maybe 8 feet tall in some places. It's really tall and healthy. I just hope we get some corn out of it. And then over here we are going ahead. Our asparagus slowed down. It was just doing little tiny spears. It wasn't doing those big nice spears like it was at the beginning of the year. So we've decided to go ahead and let it fern. We're just not going to pick it anymore. We usually wait till about July 4th before we let it go ahead and start ferning for the winter to feed the crowns. But we're going to go ahead and stop picking a little bit early this year and just let it go ahead and fern out. But we put peppers in front of the asparagus on this row. So we've got peppers all over this garden. We're determined to get some peppers. But we've got some nice ones on this one. And then we planted some marigolds and portulaca. Sorry, I couldn't think of it. Moss rose, or rose moss, portulaca in front of the peppers. And I think that's about it. That was not it. These are the onions that we're letting go to seed, and we're going to try to save our own onion seed this year. And we have some sunflowers planted around here too. And then over here and then we have our trellises with more of the thornless blackberries. And these have done really well out here too. Got the thornless blackberries planted in 2 different sections of the yard. And we planted okra along this fence. And some of it's doing well and some of it did not do well. This one's doing well. We're thinking it might be getting too much shade from the corn. We were thinking that it would just be starting to get up by the time it was time to harvest the corn, and then the okra get plenty of light, but we didn't time this real well. So we're going to get out here and replant this today. That one's dead. But down here at the other end, here through this corn jungle, down at the other end, some of this okra is starting to look really good. So there's a decent plant. And here's a decent little hill. So we've got okra planted along this fence. And now I think that is it. Thanks for watching.